Hello, this is Dr. Wayne Buchanan here with a fun little video on styles of thinking. We're going to look at a couple of models that use this same underlying idea to present 6 different ways that you can go about looking at the world. And the first model is the 6 thinking hats coming from Dr. Edward de Bono. Dr. de Bono and his group have focused on the business application of these different styles of thinking. They're especially emphasizing that there are 6 functional functions and roles, and each of these thinking roles they've used a colored hat to represent so that we can see both in our mind's eye and in the reality of what's going on in terms of how we're thinking and recognizing that there are different ways that we can think that can make a conversation or a meeting, that's their emphasis, is the business applications, go more smoothly and to actually get the results that we want. So, run through the 6 hats. The first hat is white hat. White hat calls for information, known or needed, the facts, and just the facts. This is the first type of thinking that De Bono mentions. Next up, we have the yellow hat. The yellow hat is symbolizing brightness, optimism. This is where we're looking at the positives, probing the value and the benefit. Next in our sequence is the black hat. De Bono talks about how this is the obstacles, the things that may not work, the difficulties, the dangers, where things may go wrong. And while he identifies that it may be the most powerful hat, it's also, and probably because of that, the most likely to be abused. So we have those 3 hats. The next 3 hats are red hat. This is about emotions and intuitions, hunches, gut feeling. This is about tapping into an aspect that is generally frowned upon in business. We're not usually allowed to talk about emotions in a business setting. So De Bono is making sure that there is a hat that is explicitly for doing the emotional side of things. Next up, we have the green hat, and this is creativity, possibilities. What are the new things? What are the new ideas and concepts and perceptions that need to be brought into the conversation? And finally, we have the blue hat. I think it's not actually a hat, but we'll run with it. And blue hat is used to manage the thinking process. It's the control mechanism, and it helps to ensure that the 6 thinking hat guidelines are observed, according to De Bono's own words. So, when I first ran across these ideas 2.5 decades ago, it was like, ooh, this is cool. I love that we've got these different ways of looking at the world. We can discuss them, we can talk about them in new and interesting ways. What didn't click at the time was, so when do I do what? And De Bono may have developed that more fully and articulated it in a different way than I saw when I first ran across this. The second model that we're going to look at actually puts some order to this. And this is called the path of self-discovery. My friend T. Falcon Napier, T had already had this path and the sequence mapped out. And when he ran across De Bono's 6 thinking hats, he thought, great, this will use the mnemonics of the colors. We will layer that onto what's already going on in a almost coaching type of situation. And one of the applications, sales, there are some other places where we can use this same idea of what sequence we run the 6 thinking hats in can make a huge difference on the results that we get. So the path of self-discovery actually has all 6 of the hats showing up, and we have a very specific order, and we'll see in a moment why there's 2 sets of footprints. So first is blue step. Blue step, as we recall, is about process. And the reason that I choose a mask for this is because as we're working our way through all of the sequence on the path of self-discovery, we're going to want to check in on process. Are we doing the things in the right order, in the right way to stay on path. And as we walk through, you'll see this come up every step of the way. So once we have the blue mask or hat in place and we're ready to actually engage with the full path of self-discovery, then we want to start asking white questions. Remember, white is about facts and figures, and in this case, we're thinking about what is the current situation. So we want to know what's going on right now. Facts, figures, it is low commitment, it is easy to have people talk about, and if you get the productive tension down low enough in the relationship side that we can actually have that conversation, then it's a powerful way to start the guiding someone down this path of self-discovery. So, facts and figures, current situation. When we have asked enough white step questions that we are satisfied with the actual results that we're getting, the answers that we've heard, then we can consider moving on to the next step. And that considering is the blue step of having that mask on there. So the blue is showing up all the way through this. So once we're sure we've gotten answers to all the white questions that we need to ask, next up is green. Green, remember, is creativity. In this case, this is about what is the desired situation. White, we talked about current situation. Green, what do you want? Where are you going? What are your goals? What are your dreams? What does this get you if you actually achieve those things? And so we put on the green hat. We ask good questions around where are you going? When we are thinking blue, sure that we've addressed that fully and we're ready to move on to the next set of questions, this is where we bring in the black hat. And when we wear that black hat, we're asking, what are the obstacles? You know where you're at, you know where you're going. What's in the way? What's keeping you from actually reaching those goals, having those results? And so we spend some time with the black hat specifically focusing on those obstacles. Once we've identified what could be in the way, what is in the way, whether internal or external, whether resource oriented or permission oriented, we can then move on to the yellow step. And this is about constructing that solution. It is about identifying what are we going to do to eliminate, bypass, to address all of those obstacles that we just identified. And so we go through the process of asking yellow questions and bringing in new resources, restoring resources, the sorts of things that happen when we are in problem-solving mode. And if we're doing it with a good coaching approach, we're letting the person follow that path rather than us as guides saying, and you should take this step. So we have the yellow step when we are sure that we're ready to move on from the yellow step. Then we can take on the red step. Red step is about checking in with that intuition, the gut feeling. So you know where you're at, you know where you're going, you know what's in the way. You've identified steps that you can take to get you past those obstacles. How do you feel about that plan? What comes up for you around thinking about putting that plan into place? This is where we find out, are there any unidentified obstacles, right? Things that come up now when we're tapping into that gut feeling that didn't come up when we were consciously listing the obstacles that are in the way. This is also where we're effectively getting a chance to have the person try on that future situation and go, something doesn't sit right. It is intentionally tapping into that holistic, right-brained, if you will, side of things where it's thinking beyond just what can I put my finger on, tapping into the unconscious, if you will, so that you can say, yes, I'm jazzed up about this, I'm ready to go, or you go, something's not right. And you can spend some time looping back on that path and saying, all right, let's identify what that obstacle is right now that's coming up. We don't know what it is yet, or maybe you do immediately go, oh, we totally didn't consider this thing. Okay, so you can take a step back down the path to the black step, address that obstacle in the yellow step, and then come back to red and say, all right, are we ready to move on? Is that good? Are we happy with that solution? And this is a way that we can put all of these steps, these different colors of our hats in place, and we can actually make use of these 6 thinking hats in a way that allows us to make some really good decisions. It is a process that makes you intentionally go through the different thinking styles. And when you do all of that, you end up in a much better place than if you'd only stuck with one type of thinking through all of that. So, we talked about the styles of thought. There are 6 different styles of thought that De Bono has labeled with his thinking hats. We looked at the path of self-discovery as a way of sequencing those for a good decision-making process. And now your challenge is to go out and walk yourself down the path and identify where are you at, where are you going, what's in the way, what are you going to do about that, how do you feel about that, and keeping on that blue mask to say, and here is the process, and I followed it, huzzah. All right, Dr. Wayne Buchanan here, signing off.